Welcome to Before Floor, the pregame edition of Five on the Floor, brought to you by the Five Reasons Sports Network. I'm your host, Jonathan, aka Tweebies Combo. We got Timmy, we got Gad joining us here for Game 6 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Miami with another chance to clinch tonight, taking on the New York Knicks at home, 7:30 p.m. if anybody's looking for the time as well. So, guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys like, make sure you guys subscribe. Of course, we are covering all South Florida sports. We got your Miami Heat content. The Panthers are also making a run in the playoffs as well. They have we got coverage for them with Alex Baumgartner covering almost all their games, and Manny, I believe, as well, covering them too. So make sure you guys like, make sure you guys subscribe, and make sure you guys get all your Heat content because you know ESPN won't give it to you. Guys, we're playing the New York Knicks for Game 6 tonight. We're going to potentially have a Scott Foster masterclass. So if you're going to have Scott Foster, you're going to need Mark Brown to make sure that you combat that, right? Mark Brown, PA, that's marcbrownpa.com. He'll take care of all your legal needs when it comes to foreclosures, any of that real estate, whether it's on or off the court. He'll make sure he takes care of those legal matters for you. So make sure if Scott Foster messes up tonight, you hit up Mark Brown, PA. He also does estate planning. So any of your assets that you may have might bet on tonight for tonight's game, Scott Foster might mess it up. So make sure you have him covering all your assets to make sure they go to the right people if something does happen to you, if you get involved with the mob, all that good stuff. So give him a call, 954-866-8513, or visit his website, marcbrownpa.com. We're giving you good promos here to close out the season. But guys, like I said, we're taking on the New York Knicks here in Game 6. If the news isn't obvious enough, Scott Foster will be here tonight, as Timmy likes to call him, and notoriously known as the Extender.
The extender is here, guys. Pause, but the extender is here.
Not to be confused, it extends a. Okay, let's go ahead and continue with that. But we have the New York Knicks taking on Miami here at home, and I want to get to a couple of topics for tonight's game. For this series, Miami hasn't shot particularly well, but the looks, I think it was 36 of the 48 or 36 of about 75% of the attempts from last game were pretty wide open shots. So, Timmy, let's start with you. Did you feel like there was a difference from the 3-point shots that we're taking in the losses versus the wins that we've gotten in this series? Or do you feel like this is Miami kind of just coming back to what we've done earlier in the season?
Yeah, I mean, so I was actually telling a friend about this today. The only difference is, and this is how I knew it's going to be a long night. Jimmy wasn't talking that shit. He wasn't talking, which means he kind of felt that he was hurt. The biggest difference I feel was Jimmy didn't really touch the paint as much as he usually does. I think that's why the trees were a bit out of rhythm and forced. So I think, yes, they reverted back to the old 3-point shooting rules, but I think the threes were a bit more contested than usual that has been this playoffs.
So other than 3-point shooting, Gad, Miami was able to do a couple of things right. Even though they shot the ball pretty low, 3-point shooting or inside the paint, the second chance points were something they were able to rely on. But turnovers were something that, even though Miami had more turnovers off the points, we were giving the Knicks a lot more extra possessions than we have in previous games. What do you feel like those turnovers were attributed to in the last game?
Is it a cop-out to just say I felt like the Heat weren't all the way locked in for that game? Like that's what I felt, at least when I was watching it. I mean, obviously the first quarter is really good, and then that second and third quarter, it just felt like they lost focus and kind of stopped playing that quote-unquote Heat basketball, and it kind of bled onto both ends. Offensively, it felt like not that they were out of sync, but they just weren't really on their P's and Q's in those two quarters. Kind of got back to it a little bit in the fourth, but I think a lot of that was due to shots just finally started falling, and they relied on the shot a little bit too much down the stretch and didn't really get to the rim. But yeah, the turnovers, I think a lot of it was focus. And I think some of that could be just the fact that, closeout games are really hard. And the Knicks had their backs up against the wall. The Knicks were more locked in than the Heat. Like, they played harder. I thought they played smarter than the Heat. And it showed that. The Knicks showed that. I think they did a really good job throughout the majority of the game of keeping the Heat at bay. And by the time the Heat kind of mounted their comeback, it was a little bit too much, a little bit too late. And the Knicks showed up when they needed to. So I think the Heat, they come a little bit more focused tonight because there was a lot of mental errors that they had on both sides of the ball that it felt like a regular season game, if I'm being honest with you. When we were watching that game, it really felt, it was like, okay, this is just a random like Wednesday night in January. We're just going to go see if we can hit enough shots to win. If we don't, oh, well. We haven't seen that same playoff intensity that we've seen before in these playoffs from the Heat. So I'm hoping that they kind of turn it up a notch tonight because obviously, I mean, it's like you said, it starts with Jimmy, but I felt like the whole team was just a little discombobulated, which is obviously that's not going to work with this team because they don't have enough talent to really overcome that at this point in the playoffs.
Now, if you guys have been following this pregame show for a long time, or Timmy or Gad, you know that they're both big Jalen Brunson fans. And Timmy, Jalen Brunson played 48 minutes in the last game, and I think Quentin Grimes. I think Quentin Grimes, the other person that did.
Yes.
So obviously, Tibbs is known for running his players into the ground, but I'm curious, what are your thoughts on maybe the after effects of playing two of your guys with obviously some players being hurt for the Knicks? One of your key players, Jalen Brunson, played 48 minutes in a game on Wednesday. Do you feel that comes into effect tonight, maybe late in the fourth quarter when your legs start to catch up?
I think so, and also someone asked Bam about Grimes really getting into Jimmy, and if we think that Jimmy's going to come out. I think Jimmy has taken it personal that Grimes kind of slowed him down. I think Jimmy is coming to murder that poor young man tonight. Now, I'm a fan of Grimes, but I think Jimmy has set a target on that man's back. I do think it's not sustainable for Brunson to play 48 minutes a game again, and Grimes. But hey, I'm not. I mean, if I was Tibbs, I was cracking up rolls just to get maybe like 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm not sure what Tibbs is doing, but we know Spo doesn't lose. It's rare for the Spo to lose 2 playoff games back to back. So tonight is really a big test of will between the extender and the Spo. Like he doesn't lose 2 playoff games back to back. It just doesn't happen that often. So he is the his adjustments are insane. So I'm just curious. I know at the end of the day though, my biggest thing was Jimmy wasn't Jimmy, and we have gotten this far on Jimmy's back, and he wasn't as good as he could be or usually was. But shout out to Duncan, that was 6 or 5 threes. Like I can't remember the number.
I think it was 5, but he was clipping it from deep, and especially when it got close, cutting that 18-point or 19-point lead down all the way to 1. Like he was one of the main catalysts when it came to that. So go ahead, Timmy. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was done. Yeah, I just think all the adjustments in the world are gonna change if that ankle isn't better. I think our hopes rely on Jimmy's ankle tonight.
Go ahead.
I did want to touch on that Duncan point because I thought he played really well, right? That fourth quarter, I know I had to rewatch the game after the fact, but I watched the end of the third quarter all the way through the fourth, and Duncan was a really big catalyst to that run. But I do want to say one thing. I felt like him being on the floor for the last 3 minutes or so maybe in a weird way hurt their offense because it felt like they got away from, okay, let's try to find Jimmy and Bam, maybe a mismatch, find Jimmy and Bam a space on the floor. It was, okay, let's get Duncan involved in this action. But Duncan couldn't really end up doing anything with the ball. He wasn't shooting over Brunson at that point. And, I mean, Duncan 1-2 dribbles maybe earlier in the game, but once the defense is locked in that late in the game, I don't really think he's doing as much. So, personally, I would like to see Duncan still play tonight. I think he was impactful last game in a big way. He can help give them some spark off the bench. But at the end of the game, I would prefer it to be Strus that's on the floor, because he's someone that I think is much more comfortable. Hey, just park your heels on the three-point line for the entire possession. Space your guy out the same way that the Knicks are using Grimes. You don't really have to move much. Only cut if you see an opportunity to have an easy cut to the basket. But outside of that, space the floor. Let Jimmy and Bam do their work. We don't need to bring another player into the action. And I think that can help a lot because you look at who was guarding Duncan the end of last game. It was Brunson on minutes 45, 46, 47, 48. They weren't able to make Brunson pay for playing that many minutes. I'd really like to see Strus play those late minutes in the game because he can at least catch the ball 1-2 dribbles to the rim, maybe finish through contact or whatever it may be. And Duncan, bless his soul, but he's not doing that at that juncture in a playoff game. So I think one of the adjustments that I would like to see tonight, if the game does come down to being close, is I would like to see Strus closing those minutes. Duncan gets you there. He can be the innings eater. I think Strus has to be the guy that's on the floor to end the game.
Yeah, let Strus be the Mariano Rivera closing us out here. But I think, Gad, you were the one that tweeted that Kevin Love and was it Duncan Robinson had the same amount of combined shots as Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. That's not a winning formula for success for this team. Like you said, Gad, Jimmy Butler needs to be leading this team in field goal attempts by at least 6 or 7, and Bam needs to be the guy right behind him, right? That has to be the way this team wins. And sure, I love the Kevin. There was a lot of Kevin Love shots that I liked that he took because they were pretty wide open. Unfortunately, last game they just didn't fall for us. But guys, let's go ahead and get into tonight's prize picks as well. So as always, if you're going to play prize picks or if you're going to gamble at all, make sure you guys maximize your money. Make sure you use the promo code 5, F-I-V-E, like you see on the screen, spell it out. And we'll match your initial deposit up to $100. So that way, whenever you are playing fantasy, that's a free $100 you can get. That's 20 free plays. You can play tonight for free. You can play the rest of the playoffs for free. And then you can also play the beginning of next year if all you watch is basketball. So they got Joel Embiid on a half-point sale right now. So that's an easy over because if he doesn't get a half point tonight, I am definitely going to be discombobulated when it comes to that. But guys, who do you want to take a look at? Timmy, I'll let you start with either a Knicks player or a Miami Heat player.
Let me see if they got an Pirate.
All right. So for points, they got him at 20.5, rebounds 4.5, 6 3-points attempted, 7.5 field goal made, and 3.5 points in the first 6 minutes.
I'll take the 3 points and the threes. The over.
On the attempts?
Yeah, the attempts. And the I think he's gonna get the Heat are gonna leave him open a lot. I think he's gonna get those.
All right, Gad, who do you want to take a look at?
This one's chalk, but Jimmy Butler, man. Like, if there's one player that you're gonna say he's gonna step up on the Heat tonight, I think it's gonna be Jimmy, because I think he knows that he kind of left a little on the floor last game. There was some meat on the bone that he could have ended the series and he didn't. So I think you rock with Jimmy tonight. 28.5 points is a lot of damn points. I'm not going to lie. That's a really high total, even with as good as he is. So let's keep scrolling, see if we find something we like more.
I do like the 2.5 block steals.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
I feel like when you have Jalen Brunson, who's running the point, for coming off the heels of 48 minutes, the opportunity for mistakes on a road game for a team that doesn't have a lot of playoff experience is high. So I feel like Jimmy is going to get his numbers when it comes to his blocks and steals. That's a little one I'm throwing there.
No, I like that one a lot, actually. Let's go with 1.5 dunks. Because Jimmy in these games, he loves to leak out when he tips a pass. He loves to leak out. Someone hits him with the outlet pass. 1.5 dunks. Probably the second dunk, I would guess, comes at like the 4-minute mark in the end of the fourth quarter, where it's kind of like the exclamation point play. Jimmy's going crazy. The Kaseya Center is going crazy, formerly known as AAA.
Formerly known as...
I'm romanticizing it a little bit, but don't mind my fan fiction here. I'm rocking with the Jimmy dunks tonight. I think he has a little
pep in the step
after last game.
And I mean, we all saw that little reverse double pump dunk that he was able to do. Brady was able to get a nice little sound clip on NBA once again after that, which was kind of the stranger thing, because was it after that he rolled his ankle that or kind of tweaked his knee? I'm not sure that Spo said, but that was the game where he had gotten quote unquote injured or hurt again or tweaked something essentially, but he ended up playing through it. But
he got knee in the thigh, and it was we thought it was ankle again, but it was a thigh bruise, and he didn't even get treatment for it.
There you go. So if he came off, obviously you have Jalen Brunson playing 48 minutes, and then you have Jimmy Butler kind of taking a load management game, like doing his best Anthony Davis impression. Gad, let's get into tonight's predictions. I'm gonna let you give us a key to tonight's game and give us your prediction.
Key to tonight's game. So you can talk about the offense for the Heat. Yeah, they need to make shots and all that good stuff. But man, try to make Jalen Brunson human, because he's been getting his game off a little too easily for my liking. And I understand Gabe Vincent, objectively speaking, a good guard defender, good point of attack defender. It's not working against Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson's too crafty, too patient, too strong, too smart for Gabe to guard. I think you need to throw Jimmy and Caleb on him. I don't even like the Haywood matchup. I think he cooks Haywood as well. Jimmy and Caleb, or double him and get the ball out of his hands and make somebody else beat you. If that's RJ's proven he can put up some good numbers. Randall's proven that he can put up some good numbers, albeit a little bit inefficiently, which I think kind of makes me lean in that direction of kind of make Randall and everybody else beat you. Try to limit Brunson and try to not leave RJ on an island with a worse defender. But man, just try to limit Brunson because he's proven himself. Like he isn't a playoff superstar, but he can produce like one in stretches, and that really hurts the Heat. They need to have the only superstar on the floor. That needs to be Jimmy Butler. You can't have stretches where it's Jalen Brunson. So do whatever you can to limit him and either a scorer, hopefully inefficiently, or make him turn the ball over a little bit. Don't let him score and run the rest of the offense. It's too much easy offense for the Knicks.
Yeah, there's too many times where he's getting into the paint. He's getting his floater that he's so good and so comfortable off way too easily. And we know that's what he likes to get. So you have to make it harder on him to get to his spots. I like the point you made with Haywood Highsmith. I feel like every time Haywood switches on him, it's an automatic foul. Like it's almost literally automatic with that. So I agree with both your points there. Making things harder for Brunson, like I said, off the heels of a 48 minutes game, start early with it, right? Really grind him out in that first quarter. Make him work. And then when it's later in the game and the legs are not as quite there, it'll still be harder for him. So 100% agree with you on that point, Gad. Timmy, how you feeling about this one? Give us a key to tonight's game.
Yeah, I think he closed it out, but you have to, like I said, cut the head of the snake. This team does nothing without Brunson. Like, he's really and truly the only difference between last year's team and this team. Like, really proud of a lot of people say, oh, he's only that good because he plays next to Luka. No, that boy good. Like, happy for his success, but he is the difference between that bad Knicks team last year and this team. You have to make it difficult for him. I understand maybe trying to save Jimmy's legs or whatever have you. No, you want to get an extra day or two of rest. Take Brunson out of this game. Treat it like Game 7 of the finals. Like, take out Brunson. Make it very difficult on him, and let's get it done. And both of these teams in the next series are unserious. The Sixers and the Celtics. None of them are very serious right now. We can take on any of them. We need to get through this. Don't go looking ahead. That's how players get got. Focus on tonight. We're able tomorrow. Eden 6. Shout out to the Goggy.
Shout out to the Corgi. Yes, sir. You already know. We got a bunch of different superstitions going on today. I mean, you have the Corgi and you have Scott Foster. You have Miami being undefeated at home. I superstitiously never wear a Heat jersey on game day, but since Scott Foster was playing, I decided to kind of go with the double negative and wear a Heat shirt on game day.
Reverse jinx.
We're reverse jinxing it, so maybe see what that works with it. We might win, we might lose. We got Scott Foster tonight. Who knows? But I agree with both you guys' point as far as cutting off the head of the snake. I think another key, because you guys already talked heavily about Jimmy and heavily about try to cut off Jalen Brunson. I think one of the keys for tonight, which is something that's really served us well for the first 4 games, is the bench scoring and what the bench is going to give you. Because between that first quarter and second quarter, where Miami was up and then Knicks caught it up and were able to make that lead, that's when the bench was in there, right? And typically we see Miami doing a much better job whenever the Knicks are able to put the bench in. But the Knicks did not go with a deep bench. They only went, 7 deep last game. So, and on top of that, Josh Hart had 3 fouls in the first quarter. So it was really hard for them because they weren't going to their bench quite as much. But I think the bench scoring led by Kyle Lowry, or just the bench play overall, is going to have to be good. Look for Kyle Lowry to have a good game as well. I want to see him get to the free throw line a couple times. Give me 4 attempts from Kyle Lowry, because that'll just show me that he's getting to the paint. And he's shown that whoever the point guard is for the team on the Knicks, they really can't guard Kyle Lowry as well. Like, they don't have that girth to really slow down Kyle Lowry. And he's been really using his body I think it's Andre Miller, who used to be a really good point guard in the post. I want to see Kyle kind of get to that.
Andre Miller reference. Wow. That's a
But I want to see Kyle kind of use that body and get to that a little bit more with the smaller point guards. Wear them down. Like, Thibs is going to play those guys. Kyle can be the one to help wear them down. And I would love to see that defense from Kyle Lowry that we saw at the end of the Bucks series as well. So I think those are some keys to tonight's game. I do think Miami gets done as well. Like Timmy said, shout out to the Corgi. Appreciate all you guys for joining us. We went 20 minutes deep. Sorry for going a little bit extra long, but appreciate all you guys for joining us. Make sure you guys
we got the extended and down Ramadan, so you have to go a little bit longer.
I love the attempt on it. But we have make sure, like I said, you guys like the video. Make sure you guys subscribe. If you think Miami Heat's gonna win, drop Heat in 6 in the comments. If you think we're gonna lose, let us know why. Appreciate you guys joining us. Let's go Heat, and we'll catch you guys after the